I guess the good news is finally, after 30 years, they're specifically addressing the elephant in the room. But I want to ask you, I mean, I don't want to sound too skeptical, but what is this worth when A, it's not enforceable, right? And B, there are just, in terms of loopholes, where do we begin?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. As you say, this is not enforceable. It's not like a legal treaty. It's not binding on anyone that's signed up to it. And if you look at the language, it's worth actually reading the language if you get a chance, because what they talk about calling on the countries of the world to, as you say, transition away from fossil fuels. So it's that very significant first step in talking about fossil fuels and the idea of moving away from oil and gas as well as coal. They've been talking about getting off coal in previous COPs. This is the first time that oil and gas has been linked in there. So that is significant, but it's not anything that's going to force any immediate decisions out there in the real world. I think the thing to say, though, when you think about, okay, does this matter at all? Is this something anyone should be paying any attention to? Is that it is a signpost. It is the governments of the world saying, look, that is the direction we want to go. That is where we want to ultimately end up, which is with lower demand and, I guess, eventually, over a long time, zero demand for all fossil fuels. And so when people think about policy measures that governments are taking, when people think about investment decisions, they are going to be thinking, we need to move over time in that direction. So kind of it's nothing happening overnight. It was interesting hearing your reporter just there talking about the oil markets and the way they're being moved by the Fed decision. Something like the Fed and what they're talking about with interest rates, much more immediate impact on oil and gas markets than anything that came out of Dubai. But over the long time, as I say, it does set a direction of travel.
Yeah, this is true, right? A good signpost. And I mean, they're at least talking the talk. Walking the walk, though, is something different in real life. We've got developing countries, the South, right? They still need a heck of a lot more money for the transition. Developed countries, and obviously also oil producers, they're moving, but they're not moving fast enough for climate science, right?
No, that's certainly true. And one of the exercises that went on at COP28 in Dubai was what they called the global stocktake, which is essentially meant to be reviewing all the progress that's happened on climate or that hasn't happened on climate since the Paris Agreement was signed back in 2015. And as you say, it's very clear that we are not on course at the moment to meet the goal of the Paris Agreement, which is to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees C, or ideally to keep it to just 1.5 degrees C. Both of those are not really the course we're on at the moment. We're probably looking for, you can estimate it in different ways, different people get to different numbers, but we're probably looking at between 2.5 and 3 degrees of warming on our present course. So something does have to happen that's pretty radical to move us off that. But as you say, it's difficult. There's resistance all over the world to the kinds of radical changes that would really be required. And the global energy system is still absolutely based on fossil fuels. About 80% of all our energy comes from fossil fuels. That number has not been falling very much at all, despite all the efforts we've had in successive COPs down the years to move us, and moving us further in the future. It's not going to be easy either.